offerings like this, yeah, the Sangha offering, they are, I would say that in the end, right, if we don't practice, for example, simply stated, if we don't guard against the 10 non-virtues, if we don't guard against the 10 non-virtue, avoid the 10 non-virtues, like put effort consciously, always remember what they are in the first place. If we don't remember what they are, chances are, we will forget to avoid them. And so first thing, remember what the 10 non-virtues are. Also, although, the most obvious aspect of the training in the individual liberation vows is to avoid these explicit non-virtues, it is more than that, actually. That's why it's not just ethical conduct, in fact. It is called, more accurately, it is to be translated as disciplined conduct. Disciplined conduct. And so that word, people don't like, I think, disciplined. So over time, we have been translating these into English and perhaps Spanish, where we say ethical conduct. Of course, ethical conduct is definitely at the heart, but it's more than just ethical conduct. It's disciplined. Disciplined conduct, again, on the outer appearance, seems to be just about how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, so that you are not causing others to be discouraged, and causing others to be alarmed, causing others to be suspicious of you, all sorts of things like that. That's part of disciplined conduct. But more than just maintaining like an image, as we would say, as it can turn into, disciplined conduct. When it's done wrong, it's just to maintain an image. But no, this disciplined conduct in the deeper level, it's about cultivating mindfulness. We never let our mindfulness stray. So that's why if you look at the explicit rules of these, like the 252 or 227, depending on different monastic systems, they are very detailed do's and don'ts. That if we look, we say, oh, this is kind of old-fashioned, obsolete. But you can see the overall concern is so that a monk or a nun maintains a certain disciplined way of behaving, so that their minds are also trained as a result. So anyway, in relation to the Sang practice, right? It says, oh, may this be cleansed, may this be purified, may mishaps not happen, may gossips be dispelled, all of that. We should not misunderstand and think, oh, on the one hand, we can not pay attention to the 10 non-virtues and not appreciate disciplined conduct. And then on the other hand, we hope, somehow Achi has the magic to prevent negative karma from ripening. It cannot happen like that. But what can happen, in doing Achi cleansing offering or any of these cleansing offerings is that accidental things that happen, because you are not completely mindful. You're not like you like slip you know. And not only you slip and then other people decide, you know, to twist and turn, you know, where you slip. Then it creates, you know, all kinds of mischief and trouble for everyone. So we do this sum because there are these types of things, you know, that happen to us because sometimes we're not maintaining clarity about situation. All of us have experienced, you know, even like in the moment we think, you know, with the best motivation, you know, we're doing something, or with the best motivation, we are joking, and then somebody gets upset, gets harmed. So the sung practice can help to kind of prevent these kinds of things. But not if you fundamentally, if you're not working on keeping the 3 poisons out of the picture, keeping the 10 non-virtues, not committing them. So you have to keep that, you know. Then these things can interdependently, through interdependence, work to prevent, you know, mishaps. Same like long life, you know, like long life practice, longevity practice, where we say, oh, may I not die an untimely death. May I not die of accidents. So yes, in the karmic kind of karmic understanding of things, there are still accidents that happen. And so those are the more subtle things, you know. Only complete Buddhists have completely purified it, those most subtle things that happen, kind of like on the accidental level. And of course, the cleansing offering also is not guaranteed. You know, you cannot say, oh, I definitely did not create any 10 non-virtues. Oh, I definitely, you know, then how come this cleansing offering is not preventing, you know, mishaps, you know, accidents from happening? Because, you know, we have so much, you know, kind of negative karma waiting to ripen. But again, we train. This is why we take refuge. We take refuge in the Dharma, inspired by the example of the Buddha, and guided by the living example of Sangha. Then we take refuge in the Dharma, meaning we apply the Dharma. We apply the Dharma. So anyway, this is, you know, we have to, you know, whenever we do practices that seem to make all these claims, you know, oh, this will be solved, this problem will be solved, that problem will be solved, you know, this problem will go away, that problem will go away. No, we should not get carried away and think somehow there's magic going on that can cancel out the workings of karmic causality. It doesn't work like that. Karmic causality, when we understand it, and Buddhists understand it clearly, then there are things that can be done, but they are not magic, as in they're not breaking the rules. They're working with that principle. And in that way, yes, you know, negative karma that has been created in the past can be cleared if we have those right conditions. Yeah. So now, statement 16. Statement 16 of chapter 5. It says here, all the experiences and realizations that contradict the Buddha's words are misconceptions. All the experiences and realizations that contradict the Buddha's words are misconceptions. So this is pointing to Kyobpa saying, Yes, when you apply these practices, when you engage in these practices, when you go deep in your meditation practices, particularly those meditation practices that are very intense, done in a very intense way. When they're done in a very intense way, temporary experiences will emerge. Then these temporary experiences, when enough of them happen, it might lead to certain realizations. And so this is not realization with a capital R, like the Buddha is realized. No. Before that kind of realization, there can be a lot of different levels of realization. So here, Kyobpa Rinpoche is saying, when it comes to these experiences and realizations, sometimes we might get very excited, we might get very encouraged, even inspired, when we have this kind of experience or that kind of experience, or we think, even more, we have this kind of realization or that kind of realization. But Kyobpa Rinpoche says, if they contradict what the Buddha taught, if they contradict the Buddha's instructions, then they are basically misleading. They are basically misconceptions, and we have to guard against that. I have emphasized, that first, you relate to the Buddha's teachings as like a doctor giving a prescription to you. Now, how that prescription is going to work for you, you need to have enough trust to take that prescription. But then you also need to go back to the doctor and report, oh, it's working, it's not working, right? And the doctor, has to tweak the prescription. Now, of course, if our spiritual doctor is literally like Buddha Shakyamuni, probably not much tweaking is needed. But even that, I think, clearly, even from the early sutras, you see there was tweaking. And then you say, wait, I thought Buddhas are not all-knowing. Yeah, but all-knowing doesn't mean, exactly what is going to happen in the future. Buddhas can see completely. Then it's like fixed, right? If Buddhas can see completely how the future will exactly, fully unfold, then this this makes no sense, right? When we say Buddhas can see the future, even that we're saying, see based on how things are going now. Given how things are going now, that could happen. But exactly how, it cannot be seen yet. It cannot be fixed yet. If it is fixed, then there's no human agency anymore. Then karmic causality is pointless. So anyway, even with Buddhas, there's some tweaking. How much more, of course, we learn these practices, we learn these teachings, right? We have to, learning this from our teachers, our human teachers, or from books. Then we need to adjust. So this is what I mean by we need to take responsibility for our own process. So on the one hand, we have confidence. We apply the teachings, the practices, but we have to be honest with our own process, our own process of changing and transformation, and report back to the doctor. Then if it is a skillful doctor who have your interest, your best interest at heart, then the doctor will not let their ego take over and say, okay, well, in your situation now, okay, I have to adjust this, I have to adjust this. And so that's the role, right, of the teachers. But even with all of these, right, there could arise, and then with this, right, you also should not get carried away by, wow, I know best, only I know best. Again, if you think like that, then it can be harmful. So let's look at the commentary by Khenpo Kunpal. It says, concerning experiences and Dharma teachings, since it is possible that demonic obstacles might cause prophecies in actuality. So yeah, sometimes in these intense meditations, or even when you're practicing daytime intensely at night when you sleep, you might have dreams, you might have visions, clairvoyance, magical abilities, visionary teachings, and so forth. But they say, here it says, it can arise from demonic obstacles. Some of these demonic obstacles might even give you like clairvoyance. And some of these things that you see in a dream or in a vision might even happen. And then you feel like, oh, I must be onto something. You know? Oh, I must be onto something. Oh, I must have some powers now. There are many different false and superficial experiences and teachings besides the genuine ones. And these are just karmic obstacles. In one sutra called the Shurangama Sutra, that exists only in the Chinese translation, there's one chapter called the 50 Mara states, which you can translate as demonic Mara states. And the 50 Mara states is the result of the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates certain provocations of a particular aggregate in terms of our 5 aggregates, our psychophysical constituents. When there are disruptions, things changing with one of the aggregates, it affects and then it gives rise to certain experiences, certain confusions. That sutra actually lays out quite clearly all the ways that one could go wrong, including Buddhas will come and give you prophecies. You will see like terrifying images or very inspiring images, and then you think this and you think that, and it points out how all these are the arising of what's called here demonic obstacles. But we should not think of demonic obstacles like, there are creatures with horns running around out there coming to do things to you, but the demon of the aggregates, the demons of not recognizing the nature of the aggregates, and therefore the aggregates give rise to these experiences. In Gampopa's case, it happened when he reports all kinds of very inspiring visionary experiences to his teacher Milarepa. In all those cases, Milarepa asked him, did you eat too much food the night before? Are you tying your meditation belt too tight? And Milarepa says, these are all just temporary disruptions that might even, Gampopa had a vision of like the 5 primordial Buddhas arriving and saying things to him, and he was very excited, went to Milarepa. Milarepa says, no, this is just temporary disruptions. Don't get carried away. Don't get misled. Don't get carried away, don't get misled. It's not, to deny what you are seeing. It's just saying that it's more important for you to work on understanding the nature of what you are seeing. And that applies not only to just these kinds of mystical, if you want to call it that, magical, visionary experiences. In fact, all of this here, walking around, the world teaches us the importance of recognizing the appearances factor, right? So we can even specialize. Oh, I'm a botanist. Oh, I'm a studio artist. Oh, I'm an engineer. Oh, I'm an electrical engineer. Oh, I'm a structural engineer. Oh, I'm a physician. Oh, I'm a psychologist. Oh, I'm a builder. Oh, I'm a gardener. So the world teaches us all sorts of things to specialize in in knowing so many things about this material object, that material object, what is best, what is not helpful, all of that, right? So the world has all these fields of knowledge and information that we can learn. The Dharma, what the Buddha teaches in the Buddha Dharma, is not all these things. Even though throughout time, Buddhist cultures have tried to make the Buddha, I feel, more amazing by saying, oh, the Buddha knows about, the Buddha teaches, medicine, the Buddha teaches, physics, the Buddha teaches economics, the Buddha teaches, sociology, all of this. I think it's just Buddhist cultures wanting to, Buddhicize, so to say, these various fields. Oh, Buddhist economics, oh, Buddhist psychology, Buddhist this, Buddhist that, It's okay, nothing wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong. But we run the danger of not knowing what is most crucial in terms of what the Buddha has to teach us. What the Dharma is showing us the nature, not the appearances of things, but the nature of things. And it's knowing the nature of things, knowing the nature of mind, that we can become free from the bondage of not knowing. From the bondage of not knowing, from the burden of not knowing, then all the other mental defilements arise. All the other afflictive emotions take over because of the problem of not knowing. Not knowing what? Not knowing appearances, but not knowing the nature of these appearances, the nature of form, the nature of sound, the nature of smells, not knowing the nature. What is their nature? Empty. Empty and yet clearly appearing. Clearly appearing and yet empty. Sounds simple enough. But the experience of what this means is not found in words. A few days, 2 days ago, maybe I shared one quote that Milarepa said to Gampopa about 4 ways in which, what we think our understanding of emptiness is, the teachings on emptiness, 4 ways in which it could go wrong. At the end of that excerpt, Milarepa says, now, these 4 ways have some measure of usefulness, which is to overcome the superficial, gross level of fixation and grasping. So to overcome the grosser level, the crude level of fixation and grasping, any of those 4 ways of understanding emptiness have some use. But in the practice lineage, which is what Kagyu lineage is supposed to be, whether it is or not, I don't know. In the practice lineage, the direct experience of what these teachings on emptiness is most important, most emphasized. So Milarepa told Gampopa, you have learned a lot about these 4, how these 4 ways of understanding emptiness might be useful, might be helpful, but they are useful and helpful on the gross level. Now you need to go deeper. Right? You need to really experience. So when you look at those 4, you will recognize that, oh, I read about this. Oh, this is how they talk about it. Yes, of course. But what does it mean? What does it mean when you relate to something? when you come in contact with something you see, and then the emotions that arise based on what you just saw. And what you just saw gave rise to a complex bag of emotions, like, don't like, and all the various shades of those emotional responses. Is this teaching on emptiness actually hitting the main point? We will know when we come in contact with appearances. So this is really an important point here. So here, anyways, coming back to the commentary, therefore all the experiences and visionary teachings that contradict the perfectly omniscient one's words, which is the sutras, the tantras, and the genuine commentaries on their meanings, if they contradict this, then they are only misconceptions. The reasoning is stated in the extensive Wisdom Sutra that says that all the tenets of the non-Buddhist upholders of extreme views came from mistaken meditations of previous Buddhists. So in fact it says, like all these other teachings and paths taught by other, meaning non-Buddhists, they are not like coming out of nowhere. In fact, they are coming out of people who practice Dharma but got lost along the way. Then their limited realizations, their limited experiences got turned into a whole system of beliefs and a whole system of training. So when it says mistaken, it's not necessarily even talking about like mistaken in a terrible way. For example, we're more used to like monotheistic religion. In monotheistic religions, when they say, oh, the other way is mistaken, immediately you think, oh, the other way is, very terrible. Yeah, morally corrupt. We think, there's God and then there's devil. Mistaken is devil. Devil is, then all the images of devil. Mistaken here is subtle mistakens. Whatever leads you away from freedom, the freedom of a Buddha, is mistaken. So even if you practice loving kindness, if you practice it and you become stuck in loving kindness, that is a straying, that is a mistaken. And even if you think you're cultivating emptiness, wisdom now, you're like, oh, that loving kindness thing is a little easy to get stuck in. Now I'm going to learn and practice all the teachings on wisdom on emptiness. You can also get stuck there. That becomes a mistake. Lots of wisdom, but stuck in it. Oh, lots of love, compassion, stuck in it. Here we're talking about very much more subtle, not your ordinary everyday. Oh, you have some wisdom, some clarity, you have some compassion, some love. That you don't need to worry about, you're not getting stuck in them. We're talking about much more subtle things. I think sometimes we don't realize that, then we, in our effort to want to immediately relate to my day-to-day experience, we say, oh, so here does it mean this? Does it mean that? Yes, it can mean this, it can mean that. But remember the context, Kyobpa Rinpoche is talking to people who have given their whole lives, who have moved to his place, and they say, I want to join you in your forest, in your monastery. There no monastery, there's all these just huts. I want to join you And he says, okay, you have 1 day to build your hut. It's that kind of people. And yet there's like, okay, and this is like Tibet, very, very cold. 1 day, what can you build to really protect you from that cold? Doesn't matter. They say, okay, 1 day, good. I'll spend 1 day to build my little structure. Get some help. Then enough. It's that kind of intensity. It's that kind of dedication. So you also have to remember, right, the context of who he was teaching. And the Transcendent Wisdom Sutras state that the misunderstood experiences of meditators are the work of demons. Gozang Naso Rangzhou said, I see many meditators who are deceived by defiled seeming qualities, such as bliss, clarity, and non-conceptualities, and clairvoyance, clear vision, and magical abilities. Yeah. Even the experience of these 3 states of mind, bliss, which means like very happy. Not like ha 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 happy, but this kind of like, oh, they're so happy, they're so content. And clarity, mind is clear, and non-conceptuality. Then these right, in another context, these are said to be what the Buddha state is. But there are samsaric versions of it. And the samsaric versions of it is when we are stuck in them. Then including clairvoyance. You can see the future. All the things that you say, other people say, oh, it's becoming true. This can be demonic. Here again, footnote, right? Demonic means the aggregates acting out. Pamadrupa said, the persons with great powers start doing rituals in the towns. The meditators with clear dreams are being lured and taken away by mischievous demons. So yeah, in the past, even in the 12th, 11th century, and nowadays, people get very excited when this person or that person is said to have these or that powers. Even themselves, they think, oh, now I can benefit sentient beings. So I'm going to go perform these rituals because they have effect, they're helping people. Now, we're not saying that those actions in and of themselves should not be done. We're saying they can be distractions. They can mislead you into thinking that, oh, I must be great now. And so even meditators with clear dreams are being lured away and taken away by mischievous demons. Rizin Chodra said, these days there are many who themselves, having entered a wrong, confused path, take others along that path as well. Therefore, for those who wish to do well, the only perfect thing is to make their heart jewel to follow authentic spiritual guides and authentic Dharma teachings. To make their heart jewel follow what the Dharma, what the Buddha has to offer us that is most helpful, most beneficial, which is disciplined conduct that is motivated by, that is powered by the desire to benefit beings with our body, speech, and mind. When you get right down to it, it's that. When you get right down to it, all the Dharma activities that we do, from organizing centers, running centers, to daily practice, all of it, it's about training in disciplined conduct, which includes both the ethical aspects and the mindfulness aspects. Together, this is disciplined conduct. And why? So that our body, speech, and mind will become more and more capable, more and more efficient, more and more naturally, being able to bring genuine good to others. If we remember this, like this is why I practice Dharma, this is why I get involved in Dharma activities, this is why, I support my center, this is why, I serve the center, then you won't get misled. You won't stray. So there's an equivalent, to maybe we're not talking about, like getting visions and all of that, but we can easily get misled by, things going well. So this is what it's saying, when things are going well, so to say, they're not bad, they're just naturally, when you do things, naturally things are going well. But when things are going well, it can turn into demonic influences. When you lose sight, what is this all about? Then they become traps. Despite you think your good motivation. That's the trouble with mental defilements. They are very tricky, and all of us very easily get tricked. So having some mindfulness, some awareness, when things are going really well, like the more you say, now I need to really keep my clarity about this and not get, falsely confident and then get pride. The mental defilements are relentless because we've been feeding them, I've been feeding them. And now you say, I'm going to starve you, Of course, they get all. Now you're like, I'm going to starve you, You need to go on a diet now. No, I will die if I go on a diet. I cannot, First, they will try to persuade you. No. Then they threaten you, Then they tempt you. So this is Buddha's story. Sitting under the Bodhi tree, Mara first came, to persuade. Didn't work. Tried to use his confusion, his ignorance, to persuade him. No, you should come back. You should go back to your father. He's a king. He can help you benefit being so much. Sitting under this stupid tree here, how do you benefit? You're throwing away this great opportunity that you have. You can be a universal king. You can establish justice in your kingdom. You can feed everyone. Go home. Mara said that. Luckily, Siddhartha said, no, don't use that one on me. I know what you're trying to do. He said, I've done that kind of good for so many lifetimes, and yet it will not solve things. Oh, so Mara goes away, right? Then what does Mara do next? Send temptations in the form of his 3 daughters that he manifested to seduce, to tempt. That also didn't work. Then Mara sent finally his armies, like Lord of the Rings, all the orcs and all the all coming to attack. Also didn't work. So Mara, the demons, come in all forms. In fact, in Christianity, right, it said that the devil is a being of light. It's an angel, Lucifer. It's a light. But this light is a much smaller version of the light of God. So demons, Mars don't always come with horns, In fact, horns, might be less dangerous. Yeah, good. So let's do dedication today. Page 10, the opening. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm those who create obstacles, maras who mislead, and their mara retinues, have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life, by the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, so we continue tomorrow.